Hello, today we're talking with Timothy Collins. He's there in Middle Tennessee. Timothy's a great real estate agent that I've gotten to know some, and I'm over in Crossville, Tennessee. But Timothy, what we're going to do today is just kind of talk to you a little bit and get to know you and your open house experience, but also about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you got into real estate?
Yes, well, Don, first, thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it. I've actually been a realtor now for 4 years. I joined December 2020. Came from restaurant retail background for 20 years in management. Um, been doing it for 4 years, and I just love interacting with people and the customer service aspect of it, and just the problem solving.
Yeah, meeting a lot of different people. I mean, that's a great thing to do because, and developing the long-term relationships that you can get from being a realtor and a real estate agent and helping people with their big purchases or their big selling homes,
Definitely. It's
homes,
it's
homes.
it's so exciting to help people, especially like first time homeowners getting to that finish line. And one of the nice things is my dad was actually in the military for 22 years in the Navy. So I grew up moving all around the country, always interacting with new people, always having to meet new people. So it just comes natural to me to meet strangers and become friends with them and find out what their lifelong goals are and help them get there. And it's just so satisfying to help those people out.
And being able to build the relationship, building trust uh, with with them and understanding understanding them and where they're coming from because some people are very open, some people are very private, and just understanding the boundaries of how to get into their psyche. um,
Exactly. It's
uh,
very diverse. And no one transaction, no one deal, no one person is exactly the same.
yeah, yeah. Now, you've been, what what areas do you serve there in Middle Tennessee?
Well, I cover anywhere about 2 hours around Nashville. So I go all the way over to Clarksville. I go over to Winchester. I go over to Cookville. I go to Spring Hill, Franklin. My main area, my office is located in Murfreesboro, but I live over in Smyrna, Tennessee. So those are, of course, my love is in that area. But right now, I have two listings in Clarksville.
Wow.
I have one in Kelso, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half south of where I am. Beautiful 5.5 acres, 3 bedroom, 2 bath going that just went live there, and that's actually a previous client. I sold him that house 3 years ago, which, like you said, building relationships. It's so important.
Yeah, that Kelso is I love that area.
It's beautiful
That
countryside.
actually both sides of my family come from that whole Fayetteville, Kelso, Elora area for a lot of generations. For whatever reason, my parents decided to move out of there, but I love that area. Uh,
So the
now,
area you're in is pretty nice too. They're both pretty diverse, but
yeah, yeah. Now, what changes have you seen in your market area? Because I know Nashville, shoot, I lived there for a long time, and we moved in 2019, but we were seeing the growth just in Nashville.
well,
But what changes have you seen in the area, both as a real estate agent and before that?
I've lived here in Middle Tennessee now for 7 years, moved here from Florida. So in the last 7 years, I could see the growth. That's one reason why I've always wanted to be a realtor, always wanted to get into real estate, always wanted to flip houses, helping my parents move, and we would buy a home, fix it up, and then sell it because I'm the middle of 5 boys. So of course, my dad would put us to work fixing up the houses. So what I noticed, I would say 7 years ago when I first moved here, is the boom. I mean, everybody seems to be wanting to move here. Tennessee has no state income tax, which is a big plus. Now that everybody can work remotely because of COVID, I remember when I joined, became a realtor 4 years ago and COVID had just started. Everybody's like, oh no, it's gonna be the worst time. It's gonna be the worst time. But I'll tell you, I mean, within 6 months, I hit the ground running, quit the other job that I had full time, and not looking back since. Last year was a little bit more of a struggle, because like you said, there have been some changes. Interest rates are no longer at 3%, 2.5%. So that does make the prices of homes a little bit out of reach of some lower income people. But I'll tell you, I just had a closing a week ago. Lovely lady in her 40s. Found her a nice 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, a 1 acre, about an hour outside of Nashville for only 160,000. Got her $10,000 in closing costs. She actually got a check for $250 at the closing table. Didn't have to
Wow,
bring any money to closing.
wow.
Yeah, so
Now, is there still a lot of people moving in to the Middle Tennessee area from other states?
yes, I'll tell you, like, I'm sure you've noticed there's a lot of special censuses going on right now in a lot of the cities because there's been such growth in these cities. Um, I know Smyrna, where I live, which is about 15 minutes from Nashville Southeast, it's almost doubled in size, I would say. At least it feels like it in the last 4 years. And that's one reason why I bought my house 4 years ago here in Smyrna, because I knew the prices were going to go up because of supply and demand. As long as
Well,
people are demanding it and wanting to move here, the prices are going to maintain where they are. And
do you see that still continuing for quite a few years as far as kind of the growth and the equity that people can pretty much instantly get? Because I know when we lived in Nashville, it seemed like it was flat for a long time. We owned our home for 20 years there, and it wasn't until really the last few years that that the value of the home really went up.
oh, and
And
the
there was a
value of the homes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, but it seemed like it was flat for a long time in that area. But Nashville and that the whole area, what I call the Nashville effect, but Nashville just kind of became the it city. And there, one thing that I noticed is that I don't know if he still runs it or not, but Butch Spyridon was head of the National Convention Bureau, and he headed up. He saw a lot. He shepherded in a lot of great events, and allowed, I think, for the growth and the visibility of Nashville to become what it has been.
Oh yeah, I mean Nashville's. I mean it's crazy how much it's grown in the 7 years I've been here. And from what I've heard, my best friend has lived here for about 15 years, and what he's told me what it was like back then, it's so different, night and day. I would almost say. I mean, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And one thing really about the whole area, not just Nashville itself, because Nashville has become used to, you did not have any downtown living. Now there's all this that's happening downtown, but there's so much for everybody, really. I mean, you've got the downtown living and the vibrancy, but you've got all these areas that's surrounding downtown Nashville. But then you have areas like Smyrna and Franklin and Gallatin and all these others. It's a really kind of a huge area that doesn't affect just Davidson County, but the whole 8 counties around.
Yeah, it spreads out tremendously because like you look at Shelbyville just as an example. It's what would you say, 45 minutes to an hour from downtown Nashville?
Yeah.
And just from what I've seen in Shelbyville, I mean, I was able to get people homes out there, nice 3 bedroom, 2 bath, brand new construction for just under 200,000 4 years ago. Now you're looking at almost 400,000 out there. Now that growth and equity is, I mean, honestly, my thoughts on it, this is my opinion, should never have been as tremendous as it was. So I do feel like we are going to flatline slash maybe increase 1%, 2% for the next couple of years, just because the prices did go up so fast. And with the interest rates going up right now, our supply has come back up. So we're not in as much of a supply issue as we were 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Are you seeing more builders helping to meet the demand?
I have seen, I mean, you pull out of my house, you go any direction, you have brand new neighborhoods popping up, 300 houses here and there, and it's nice. It's great. It's going to bring so much more infrastructure to the area. I'm looking forward to some new on and off ramps on I-24 out here that are going to come in. But yeah, there's a lot more supply out there, which is nice because right now we're able to get the buyers the incentives that they're looking for, able to help them out, like that deal I told closed this last week, where we were able to get her the closing costs all paid for. And of course, we had a down payment assistance program to help her out there. So it's no deal is the same. So it does right now, it's really good for a buyer, which I do foresee that changing a little bit once spring and summer comes and people want to start moving. And now the election's over, everything's calmed down there, because every 4 years in the election time, everybody gets tight with their money and they want to hold off and see what's going to happen.
It always ebbs and flows, and it's being able to adapt. Just like as you were moving around with your dad being in the military, it's like, okay, new situation. Let's adapt to it, and that's what it is to do that, because there's being knowledgeable and working with a knowledgeable real estate agent like yourself. Uh, there's always good deals that really both the buyers and the sellers can win on
Yeah,
there.
you want it to be a win-win situation. You don't want anybody to feel like they were taken advantage of.
Absolutely. Now, how important do you think that open houses are in today's market?
Today's market, I will tell you that open houses are pretty much the foundation of how I've survived the last 4 years. And in today's market, I don't see a change. I do actually see that maybe getting, well, I guess I do see a change. I see it actually being more important now with the buyer's rep agreements, having to be signed before you show homes, because if you're doing an open house and you have permission from a listing agent, you don't have to have a buyer's rep agreement from everybody coming in that door. So that helps a lot for you to get, because I'm more of a face-to-face person. I'm not much on talking on the phone. So
Yeah.
I honestly, before this happened, I would show them one house. I would just take them, show them a few houses, and then I would have them sign the buyer's rep agreement after the first day that I met everybody. Because talking to somebody on the phone, if it's a cold call or somebody just calling you or a referral, I always wanted to get the face-to-face and build that rapport first. So open houses allow you to do that. This last weekend, I did 2 open houses on Saturday and Sunday, 2 different places. Picked up 3 unrepresented buyers, which now,
Wow.
of course, 2 of them are represented. They signed a buyer's agreement, and we're going to be looking at property. One of them hasn't signed the buyer's agreement. We're throwing stuff back and forth, and we'll see where that goes.
Now, are you doing uh, generally your own listings, or are you, or have you also hosted open houses for other listing agents?
So I do my own listings, of course, whenever I have one coming up that's new to the market and all that, because I really feel an open house is important when it first hits the market, or if there's a dramatic price drop or something that changed the open house. I don't like to do open houses for houses that have been sitting for 30 to 60 days with no price changes, because I don't feel like it re-energizes people to walk into the home. Because anybody can pick up a phone call a realtor, sign a buyer's rep agreement, and go get a showing for a home. But a lot of the people coming into open houses they're at the beginning stages of that looking. They don't want to bother people to go show at houses because they're not serious. They're just like putting their toes in the water and testing it to see if it's something that works for them. And so I mean, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No,
I feel like I got off track a little bit there.
well, I mean, it's you were mentioning that you're doing your own listings for the open
Yes.
houses, and but also, especially when you were starting out, were you looking to host for other agents that?
Yes. So I have an ongoing search in RealTracs. I call it my own open house possibility search. And a couple mentees that I have below me, I've actually had them set that up on their computer also. So that search only looks at my brokerage in the Murfreesboro area, but we have 160 agents out of there. What I have in there is I have an area that I would prefer to travel to, about 30 to 40 minutes from my house at the most, because there's always new listings that are hitting the market. So when that's about Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I'll look at that search and see if one of those houses are something that I want to do. I also, because I've been doing open houses, because that's been my bread and butter, is open houses. And then of course, now that I've been 4 years, half my deals last year were pretty much referrals, and then half were from open houses, representing buyers. So, so I also have certain realtors that, you have these people that have been doing it for 20 years. They have all the connections. They get new listings every week. I have a couple of those realtors that I'm their go-to person for open houses, because they love how I do the social media marketing. They love how I do the signage. And how I keep it professional. I have everything looking good. I don't go overboard with the snacks. I think it's crazy to do all that, especially with COVID. You don't want to have all the finger foods for people to touch.
Right.
But you do want to have something for a kid that needs a fruit snack or a bag of chips or something, because if they are looking at 4 or 5 different houses, you got to have a way to make yourself stand out. But yeah, I guess it's a mix of both.
So it can always be a good collaboration with others, and I can see with you as you grow and everything is, and you may not be able to, you may already have a time commitment for something else, but utilizing another agent to host your open houses. So it's a good collaboration, and where you get to know other agents that you can work with in the area on there.
Yeah, and I
How is
will
it
tell
that,
you, talking about getting to know other agents, when I first started, I guess I had the mindset when I first started 4 years ago of, hey, I don't need to go to those realtor events. I don't need to go see other realtors and meet other real estate agents, because they're not going to buy a house from me. What's the purpose? But I will tell you that now I see the importance of knowing those other realtors, those other real estate agents, because the collaboration that you can do and how you help each other out and you work together. Because I love to travel. And it seems like every time I travel, something comes up, and it's always good to have somebody you can call to help out.
it keeps going. That's one thing that I see a lot with a lot of real estate agents, and I've seen it personally on some things. You make the plans to travel, and as soon as you go, it's like, okay, everything explodes, and it's like, okay, well, here's some business. Okay, well, it allows me to pay for the traveling. But
Exactly.
if you have your system set up in place and be able to have those people that you can call on if you're traveling, to be able to, hey, so and so, can you host this for me, and have those people. You've built up a great network, because real estate agents, you're your own business.
You are.
And there you have to run it. You can't rely on your brokerage to fill any coverage that you need to do. So how is it that you like to market your open houses?
So I think it's really important to know what open house you're going to do, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday of the week, just because of all the algorithms and all that on social medias and everything. Because if you post I like to post on social media. I'll make sure that by Thursday evening I have signs going out to the property. If it's a property like Franklin, for example, they have a lot of restrictions on signage in the neighborhood. So I'll make sure I have a sign at least in the front yard. I'll make sure that whatever agent that I'm doing the listing for has posted it in real tracks, so that it goes to Zillow and all the other things about the open house. I'll also put it on openhousesusa.net. That's a resource that I found really valuable, and it's actually helped bring more people to look at the open house. And just a lot of that. I also if it's a neighborhood that I want to continue to do a lot more in, I'll do the door knocking. That you always hear about, hey, get a flyer for the neighborhood, hey, we're doing an open house down the road. And that's more to try to pick up listings than buyers, because in the end we all want to be listing agents.
Yeah, and you know, I heard Walter Key say we were doing a different uh, class today, but he was saying that when he goes to the neighbors and tells them about the open, says, he tries to do it with humor and say, here, you can have a chance to about who your neighbor's going to be.
Yep. And you have 5 seconds to show your personality to that individual. And they may know somebody that wants to buy that house, because when you're doing an open house, you're doing twofold. Number one, I do an open house, I want to try to get clients for myself, but I also want to bring a buyer for that listing to that agent, because I have one agent who has me do open houses for him, and he swears every time that I do an open house, he sells the house. I have yet to represent a buyer for the houses that he sold, but I picked up people that bought other properties from doing it. So it's a win-win for both of us. And that's the biggest thing, is collaborating and making that happen. And but yeah, with the neighbors, you have 5 seconds to pretty much, because they're either going to slam that door on you and you got to find out something funny to say, really quirky, or I had somebody one time that chased me down and was about to throw the flyer back at me, because you knock on the door and then you leave a little flyer inviting them. And then once he realized what I was doing, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And now I talk to him about every 3 to 6 months. And probably when he goes to sell, who do you think is going to be the listing agent?
Yeah, and the trick is on this is, first of all, there's a lot of agents that are afraid to take that first step and do. And the thing is, you just have to force yourself to do it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get at it, and you're going to develop what what your personality is in certain situation. Humor
Yeah.
works well for a lot of different things, but also don't ever take anything negative. And sometimes I know some of my best successes, I'm not a real estate agent, but as you know, certain other things, some of my best successes have been taking the most negative things and turning that to my advantage. You don't take anything personally, but you can turn it to your advantage, and those can be some of the most loyal people. Because I know one of my personal go-to reactions is, "No, get those away from me." And it's like, and I think about it, it's like I'm not good at that, but I've I've been able to develop some great relationships with that. Um,
Yeah, you
as we
can't let
start
the negativity get to
closing
you.
up here, how is it that you help sellers prepare for the open house?
Well, usually, since in the beginning, I dealt a lot with other listing agents. I would sort of talk to those listing agents, and the listing agents that I do the open houses for usually do good communication with their sellers on making the home presentable, making sure that it looks good, making sure all that. But I have a checklist that I send off to my listings before I do it, and then I do have a conversation with the listing agents, because it's more you're going through the listing agents if it's not your listing. So you're depending on them to make sure they communicate with their clients. That's good. And when it is
Right.
somebody else's listing, I would recommend, like another thing that I like to do is I like to do a video walkthrough 2 or 3 days before the open house. Go live on Facebook, go live on Instagram, and do that walkthrough. Because number one, it's gonna let you see what you're gonna get in that house early, to see what you're gonna expect coming on Saturday at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, whenever you're doing your open house. You want to know what you're gonna expect you're walking into. You also can give some sort of feedback to the listing agent. Like there's been times I've been like, "Hey, are they going to mow the grass before Saturday? Or are they going to do this before Saturday?" And that's just a good way to do it. Now, of course, my listings, when I'm doing the listing presentation, when I get everything set up before we go live, I've already set those expectations. They've already gotten all my lists, that we've already done everything.
And it's basically it's a good, you're going out there beforehand. It's a good way to understand and make sure that the keys and the doors and if there's an alarm system, knowing how to turn off the
You don't want
alarm.
to be surprised.
So, so it's preparation on there. One last question here. You were mentioning before we got on air about you're you're thinking about whether or not to do an open house this weekend, because and hey, and across a lot of the United States, there's weather.
Yeah.
Some is more equipped for winter weather. Certain areas, in Tennessee, I know, especially yesterday, there was more ice on the roads and everything. So, what uh, what is your thought process as you're going into considering whether or not to do the open house this weekend?
So there's so many factors you want to factor in on whether you do open houses. Like I know Middle Tennessee, we know football is crazy here. So a lot of times when I do my open house during football season, I make sure it's not around the University of Tennessee games or Vanderbilt games because people are going to watch those. And but for example, what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about the weather. So originally I was looking at you want to watch the weather, see what the weekend's going to look like because typically if it's cold, it's rainy, it's snowy. I mean, what do we all want to do? We want to stay home. We want to stay inside. We want to have some soup, some chili. We want to relax. So you want people to come out to your open houses, but you want them to be safe. So, for example, I was looking at the weather yesterday because I'm already planning. I already got some houses in mind if I do an open house this coming weekend. I do have clients coming in from Alabama, so that's another thing I'm thinking about is how's their travel going to be affected by this weather because they're coming in Friday. And originally we had 80% chance of snow on Saturday. Now it's moved to Friday, which is sort of better, making it look like to do an open house. So honestly, I'll probably end up right now. My mindset is with the weather. If the snow is coming on Friday, there's no other rain for the weekend projected right now. So as long as it stays the way it is, I'm probably going to do an open house Sunday from 2 to 5. Typically, on a weekend where I decide to really knock out open, well, on a week I decide to really knock out open houses. And this will be starting probably next month. I'll be doing open house on Thursday, Thursday evening from 4 to 7. I'll do an open house Saturday morning, another open house Saturday afternoon, another open house Sunday afternoon. And then my Sunday afternoons just vary because I have nice little riders on my sign, so it looks very professional. They weren't expensive to do, but just so I'll do like a 10 to 1, a 2 to 5 on Saturday if I'm doing both, or I'll do a 1 to 4. I always like the 3-hour increments, but the weather is a big factor just because you want to think about people being safe and you don't want to waste your time sitting at a home and not have people come in because bottom line, you want to sell that for a listing agent and you want to get clients for yourself. So it's got to make business sense.
Well, it does, but there's one thing too. It's always setting the right expectations because there's a lot of planning involved if you want to do it right. And yes, you want to have the visitors, but hey, it happens to everybody. Sometimes there's no visitors, so and there may not, there may be periods without visitors. So in today's technological world, it's creating the content, it's doing some videos of some of the best features of the home. So even an open house where there's no visitors can still be a win because
Well,
you're
exactly.
featuring
You want to get that
featuring
social media
and
content.
getting exposure.
Yeah,
And
you want the social media content and you want to keep it going because I mean I what you're talking about, I have a YouTube base, I have a TikTok base, I have a Instagram base, a Facebook base, and you want to have stuff going there. You want to have new content going on there to keep people engaged.
And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and end up with that, but what we'll do is we'll get what those what your links are on there, and we'll have those posted in the description. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up here. But Timothy, we really do appreciate it today and you spending some time with us and definitely if you're looking to list your home or to buy a home, reach out to Timothy. We'll have the information where how you can reach him. But we also want to thank any real estate agents who are watching this, and hopefully that you've learned some things today that can help you in your success because open houses are not utilized enough, and they certainly can be. And we want to encourage you to visit openhousesusa.net. You can post your open houses for free, but I would encourage you to get either the basic or the premium subscription. You get so much more with that. Hey, if you're just looking to visit some open houses, yeah, and you're not a real estate agent, also set up an account and put in your preferences, what kind of homes you're looking for in what areas, and you'll always get reminders of when an open house is that fits that criteria. So Timothy, any last thought here?
Well, thank you very much for letting me be on your podcast, and I am always here to help. Feel free to reach out, anybody out there, or of course you, Don. I'm always here to help everybody.
Wonderful. Hey, y'all go have a great day, whatever day it is, and uh, just just go be successful in your open houses.